Hello. This is the Awful and Awesome Entertainment Wrap, episode 386. This is Rajyasree Sen.
And this is Abhinandan Sekhri. We are recording on the 13th of May at 4 in the afternoon in Delhi, which is extremely cloudy. As we say in Punjab, Nehri chha gayi, Nehri. You know what that means?
It's looking like 8 p.m.
That's what Nehri chha gayi, matlab andhera ho gaya.
Like that, you'll say it.
Yeah.
We say it Kal Boishakar moton hoyeche. You see the difference in the language?
Yeah, that you
Melodious
take too many words to communicate simple thought, which is consistent with your presentation style. But
I'm going to
Rajyasree
speak
Sen-
very little today.
Oh my God, we'll have to see to believe. But today is a very special episode because we have both watched something that is relatively new, which is Jewel Thief,
Jewel Thief.
which we'll be reviewing. And we have the cast and the director or writer
Directors, both the directors of Pune Highway. So we have one member of the cast only. We only have Anuvab Pal, but Pune Highway stars Jim Sarb and Amit Saad. And it's directed by Rahul DaCunha and Bhargava, Krishna.
So we will have all of them here. We will talk about their film or show.
It's a film. We'll talk about the film and other things because the film hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, so the inside outside is the thing that I want to talk about. So Rajyasree Sen, we have a lot of emails also, but before we do all that, I'd like to urge all of you to subscribe and pay to keep news free. As you see, the last week has demonstrated that during wartime, the amount of fake news that legacy brands spread was alarming. And with zero shame. And even now they think that all wrong information, demonstrably false. Now, if you think that's what they do in wartime, think about what they're doing in peacetime. And then think, why do they do that? Because you don't matter, they don't give a shit about public interest journalism. Because, like we've said, when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers served. So they have to keep the large corporations and governments happy. So this is a very good week to realize why you should pay to keep news free. The QR code is here. We have also sent 2 reporters to Kashmir because we said we cannot leave it to legacy media. They will keep giving us bullshit news. So our journalism is funded by you. So please make sure that our reporters are provided for. They have the resource at their disposal so that we can continue to be unafraid and not walking on eggshells when we talk about anything from politics to cinema. Rajyasree Sen, the only time we do take payment, we don't, but I've heard that someone gets a case of whiskey to review C-grade short films. That I'm just saying, I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with a little alcohol to make life easier. That's all I'm saying.
So Rajyasree, let's, before the cast member and the directors of Pune Highway join us, I'd like to talk about Jewel Thief, but for a change, I want to start.
You always want to start.
No, I always say, what do you think? Because I don't want to be interrupted. It never happens because then when I start talking about it, you interrupt. But I want to start. But before that, if you want, you can read a couple of emails because we've got like 12.
You're too kind, I have to say. It's like just too much.
Nature
too much.
Kuch aisa hai.
Okay, M has written, hello RNA. I wanted to second the recommendation of The Chestnut Man, which a listener shared in the last episode. It was easily one of the best shows I've watched in recent times.
Wow.
I'll watch. Netflix has a good collection of Nordic, Scandinavian or thrillers, all set in depressing, cold Scandinavian towns that I think Rajyasree would appreciate.
All bongs.
I don't know what this is supposed to...
With your monkey cap.
Yeah. Apart from that show, the RA Murders and Deadwind are also good. Rohini has written a few years ago in an A&A episode, I recall Abhinandan saying that Deepika being in anything will make it a great film for him. And something like if she appears in Man Ki Baat, he will even give up on News Laundry and start listening to Man Ki Baat. Just wanted to let you know that she recently appeared on Modi's Pariksha Pe Charcha a few months back. Don't know if you watched the episode. Huh?
Rohini, wo mera divanapan tha, but it's over.
It's over? You moved on?
I don't watch Pariksha. No, I haven't moved on, but I'm like I can't even get myself to watch an Akshay Kumar film even if she's in it. So there's like just that much.
That's love, but only that much love.
Yeah, only that much.
Peri Sai Teja. Respected ma'am, I'm the respected ma'am. I have come to enjoy this podcast more for the fun banter between you and Mr. Abhinandan than the reviews, for I too, like Mr. Sekhri, don't want much of anything being reviewed. This is not something to be proud of, no? However, I was in the mood for good old westerns when Tombstone was suggested. I must say, perhaps it was not to my liking.
Oh.
But I have come to like old mid-century color movies from the 50s. Very good. I believe technological constraints brought out true gold in storylines and actors. I wish you review some of them, like Rear Window, which is one of my favorite films, which are surprisingly contemporary even today. FTII 2 is putting up their student films on their YouTube channel. Perhaps you could look them up as well.
Thank you, Peri. Okay. Thank you for your recommendation and thank you for writing in. Now, Rachi-san, Jewel Thief, which you recommended, and I said I'll watch. We know why you recommended it.
I did not recommend. I said it's a new film, which why should we not review? Because it has Jaideep Alawat.
So if I don't get defensive, you recommended, you put it on the list of what we should review.
You made it sound like I like Jewel Thief and thought it would be a classic.
We'll find out if we did or not, if you did or not. But a couple of things here. This film is directed by
Cookie Gulati.
Cookie Gulati the Robbie Grewal.
I love Cookie Gulati.
So that will give you an idea of how good it was. As a thriller or whatever the fuck it was. Cookie Gulati and Robbie Grewal have directed this film. Then the screenplays are David Logan. Any Logan ne le leena dupatta mera.
And it stars who? It stars Kulbhushan Kharbandar.
Kulbhushan.
Oh, you know, National Award winner. I think he was also at one point. Jaideep Alawat, who is spectacular as an actor, usually.
But Cookie Gulati and Robbie Grewal said, challenge accepted. Can we make a brilliant actor act shit? Done.
And it has Saif Ali Khan, who has essayed some very memorable roles till now, Langra Tyagi and all. And then it has Nikita Datta and some other people.
Okay, so I have never seen Nikita Datta in anything else.
No, girl.
But Kunal Kapoor, who was amazing in Rang De Basanti,
Kunal Kapoor
has made a comeback in something he should have stayed away. So I have few questions for you, Rajyasree, and I'll give you an idea of whether I liked it or not.
I can guess whether you liked it or not. You don't have to make me answer.
It's a riddle.
Riddle?
I'm the riddler. Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black?
Bad.
Very good.
I know everything. See.
So, Rajyasree, what's worse than bad dialogue?
I'm going to say Saif.
Saif delivering bad dialogue. High five. You got it.
No, I can't.
That's the only thing that's worse than bad dialogue, which is sad because the dialogue of this film has been written by someone...
Bengali.
No, it's Sumitra. He has written dialogue for Stree, which is great, and Jawan. So clearly, Cookie and Robbie have got out the best of
everyone.
Sumitra. Then, the second thing. This film has lighting. And one frame is going to come up here. You can see it. It has the lighting of a 90s serial. Just like light everything up. It's just one big, just throw light on everything.
Maybe it was a very sunny place.
So the lighting is like amateur, theatre. And the cinematographer is...
Oh, he is Bengali.
Jishnu Bhattacharya.
Don't make fun of him.
So that is as far as cinematography is concerned. Okay, so let's also... The background score is everywhere. It's crowded with background score. Like no one can even fucking just look bored without at the back. So there is lots of background score. And I suspect it is for the following reason, which is...
Let's hear.
This jewel thief, Saif is a jewel thief. He's a famous jewel thief. They have tried to make him cool, irresistible, really brilliant, very cerebral, very brave.
George Clooney.
And also very loyal to his family and loving and emotionally fulfilled and fulfilling. They have tried to make him all these things. First of all, trying to convince an audience Saif is even one of these things is hard enough.
He loves his family a lot.
Trying to make it look like he can be two of those things is harder. Trying to convince an audience that he can be all these things is impossible. So they said, how do we do it? They said, don't allow the audience to think. Just fucking bombard them with background music. So Rajyasree Sen, it is very rarely you have ever recommended anything worse. And I will want your inputs also.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that.
The only thing that I think is consistent with Saif and the character is that his name in the show is
Rehan Roy.
Which means he's a...
No, but Kulbhushan not. They did not seem Bengali. The rest of their behavior.
Roy has to be Bengali.
No, you've forgotten the guy who was the cop in this thing, the DIG. And this is when I first found out that Roys are not Bengalis. Only. My classmate
was... Don't be like Atal. And then, like, we think you finish a sentence and then you have to say, only. That's suddenly come up with.
It's like that. Don't send the nuclear weapon now. It's like that. No, so they are not Bengali Roys, but I had to say one
But was he a Bengali Roy in
No. Because Kulbhushan is not Bengali, no? In the film.
How do you know he's not Bengali?
Because there was nothing Bengali, no accoutrements of this thing. But
if it's a Bengali household, there should be some Mishti Doi. Everyone should be saying Dhon, Pushpa,
there should be a picture of someone wearing a white and red sari. But I have to say with this film, which I took notes because it was so funny. One, that they had Gustav Klimt. They do a little in the opening first 5 minutes. They talk about Gustav Klimt's painting, and I was just thinking, who have they written this film for? Because most people don't know who Klimt is, but just shows that it's a very well-informed person.
Obviously, if the directors are Cookie Gulati
is very
and
well-informed.
Robbie Grewal, the Punjabis are the most cultured. They know about art.
Clearly.
They know about science. They know about culture, agriculture.
I counted Klimt is mentioned in the first 5 minutes 3 times in detail. Then there's lots of our art history. They did this painting here, this painting there. Saif in the beginning. So the starting is nice because Saif's in a bath and he's sort of naked. But then it all goes downhill from there. And
that was the best
part. The point was that. The other thing is that clearly Saif and Jaideep, which Netflix does this with almost all big stars. When you do one film, you don't sign a one film deal. You sign a 2 or 3 films. So this is one of the films.
Now they're stuck together. Now Jaideep is like, what the fuck have I done?
Jaideep made that film with Kareena, which was a nice film. Then after that, he had to do this because this is in the contract. Now you have to do another film. It might not have said that you have to do it with Saif. Saif is also he had made, what was that? Vikram Chandra's, that Sacred Game. He has a contract with Netflix. So they have to, they must have said, there's no other reason why Jaideep would have done this.
Don't deduce. Journalistic outfit. Don't deduce. They tell you what we know. We don't know any of this. Rajyasree is just speculating.
I'm hoping that this is the reason. Otherwise, it's worrying that Jaideep has chosen this. But Jaideep was the only bright spot in the film. But even for him, you could make out he was just like, he had to say the lines.
When you're early in your career, although Jaideep is not early, but there's a phase in everyone's career. Everyone does stuff for money. Just to let you know, when I used to run a production house in the 90s, I have made a film for Reliance. So just saying. So we all do. We've all made, as I wrote about Anuvab Pal, we've all done a Mast Kalandar.
But what I felt was the film is really bad. But what is worse than the film and worse for the actors, I felt they had to do promotional activities, like a one-on-one interview with each other.
Like today's Highway Pune team has to do with us.
Yeah.
And they're stuck with us.
These guys also...
What the fuck? They're talking to us because they have to do promotion. Otherwise, why would they want to talk to us?
That's what... So these guys also must have been like, what are we going to... Like, they have to answer serious questions about this rubbish film. And Jaideep Alawat dances well.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have to answer serious... Because otherwise, Saif does really cerebral interviews and he's clearly an intellectual.
He's very bright.
So now he has to talk about dumb things like, so can I finish the rest? My notes aren't over.
It's still.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I've mentioned this many times, the obsession with entries. This will be Saif's entry. This will be Jaideep's entry.
Jaideep's.
That obsession entries continues and both the entries are really weak. Jaideep's is weak enough and then he says, Ek hi banda ye kar sakta hai, jewel thief. And you of course know it's going to cut to music.
But he's in a bar.
And you know when you do an entry like that and the guy turns around, he should look like Milind Soman or Arjun Rampal or Hugh Jackman. You can't have that kind of music, the camera movement, and the guy who turns around. Okay, let's face it, he looks like a bit of a chomu.
No, he's very good looking.
You can't have Alfred E. Newman look at you at the back.
No, he doesn't. No one will agree with this.
Everyone will agree.
Even people who don't like Saif.
The entry just sucks. Then, this film has been written for people who don't know that food, when you pick it up, it goes in your mouth. This film has been written for people who sometimes pick up food and they say, okay, should I put this in my mouth, should I put it in my nose? It's like explained everything. ये बताओ ये तो अफ्रीका का कोहिनूर है ये कोहिनूर अफ्रीका अच्छा ये अफ्रीका का कोहिनूर हाँ ये बहुत ही एक्सपेंसिव है ये बाहर जाएगा और हमारी म्यूजियम में वापस आएगा फिर ऐसा अच्छा ये इंडिया आएगा कब आएगा अच्छा अच्छा वहाँ fuck
because
man it is made this film is written for people that if you fucking do not even know if I'm saying I'm going to sit on the chair unless you diagrammatically represent it those people don't understand what is going to happen. This film has been written for those people.
Also, the end is
I didn't reach the end.
So it's from that Batman.
I gave up at 47, 48 minutes.
It's from Michael Caine. You know where Michael Caine looks up and he sees, what's that very good-looking Batman? Christian Bale is having a drink at the end of Batman. And they just look at each other and the next scene, Christian Bale is no longer there and Michael Caine doesn't say that he's seen...
Oh, that favorite nod.
Yeah. So they do that. So only thing is, Kunal Kapoor is Michael Caine and Saif is Christian Bale. So it's quite cool.
So the writing is also for amateur dramatics, acting is amateur dramatics, plot, casting, everything is amateur dramatics. I have no idea why such shit gets made. I have no idea why people put money behind such shit. I have no idea why we watch this shit. I have no idea why people pay to tell us about watching this shit. It's all a mystery, Rajyasree, and the world is a mystery.
But aren't you thankful that it was a film and not a series? It was just a 1.5 hour film. I thought it was a series.
See, Rajyasree, even then I only watched 47 minutes.
But that's just, yeah, really.
And finally...
There was a twist in the film.
Everything was shit. I said, let me try to get some redeeming quality out of it.
Which was?
So, this Marflix, it's been made by Marflix because India's originality, you know, Marvel, Netflix, Marflix.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
I think they thought that we'll create a universe like there is universe, X-Men universe and all. Marvel universe. Because obviously we'll want to watch this Jewel Thief again. Obviously, he's so good.
No, there's a season. There's a part 2 sequel.
Excellent. I'm sure it'll do brilliantly. Like, it'll be, if it's even half as good as this. So, the mnemonic. You know what a mnemonic is? Okay. I'll explain to you later. So, the opening mnemonic of Marflix, you know, no Indian production house has been able to get a really classy mnemonic going.
At least you paid attention to it.
They clearly get, you know, a lot of money spent on this. Like, Z used to have really good mnemonic in the beginning. There used to be like musical notes, ting, 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 and then white background and this color. It wasn't bad. The 20th Century Fox was an old one. Paramount is of 22. They did the lion roaring.
HMV.
No Indian production house. The Red Chilies had a really cool one. Where, you know, this red glass shatters and this red chili. Red Chili's mnemonic was very good. But most mnemonics of Indian production houses...
What is Marflix's? I don't remember.
It's just like something is molten iron is being poured or gold or whatever it is.
That's the least of their problems, no?
I thought, let me try to find something. Nothing I could find.
The romance didn't inspire you to fall in love.
This film almost inspired me to jump off a high building. So, Rajyasree, that was the wonder that is Jewel Thief. In future, if I could suggest to you, don't suggest anything we watch. Okay?
But then we'd be watching nothing.
Which is still better than watching Jewel Thief.
I think everyone should watch Jewel Thief and...
write in and tell us, would you rather listen to me or rather listen to Rajyasree? But we have on cue joining us a cast member, I won't say the entire cast, and the directors of Pune Highway, the latest. The link is there. Here's the promo.
Dead body kabhi jhoot nahi bolti.
The film is releasing on the 23rd.
23rd.
Right?
23rd, yeah. 23rd.
Right. And the directors, I hope I get the pronunciation right. Rahul DaCunha, is that right?
DaCunha.
Cunha. Why is there no I here
It's
then?
okay. It's debatable, but it's okay.
Who is a very big name in advertising. Rajyasree will tell you all about it. And Bhargava Krishna. Hello.
Bugs.
Bugs,
Hi
as he's
there.
called. And
Yeah.
Anuvab has been often on Hafta as well as an Awful and Awesome. Anuvab Pal, famous stand-up comic and writer and columnist and a screenwriter as well. In fact, I had heard of him before I met him. Did you know that?
Yeah, must be through me only, na? Who else
I
would
did
have
not
told
know you. Those were my good
okay.
days in life. This friend of mine.
Everybody knows Anuvab. Everybody
Yeah.
knows Anuvab. He's up on every wanted list in every...
Yeah. No.
Country.
Sabrina had told me that I watched this film called Lions of Punjab. It's written by a very funny guy called Anuvab Pal. This is back in what year would that be, Anuvab?
You know, Khamra and I had a call earlier today. We were talking about something. And we just realized this year will be the 20th year of Lions of Punjab.
My God.
Damn. So there was that long ago.
Oh, Kunal was also in it, of course.
So Rajyasree, please introduce our directors. Tell us about their amazing...
No.
You have all seen their work in the past.
Yeah, so Pune Highway is basically a play which Rahul had written, which Bugs was part of, right? You were one of the actors, and now it's been made into a film, and they are both writers of the film, and Anuvab is one of the stars of the film. There's Anuvab, Jim Sarb, and Amit Saad, and who are playing the three main friends, right?
So what is it? So if not to interrupt you, Rajyasree,
Yeah.
but the fascinating thing is that Anuvab is playing in the film what Bugs played on stage.
Oh.
So that's a hell of a thing, because I don't mean to jump your questions, but when it came to, like, Jim and Amit were a slam dunk for us because we wanted the two of them. And when the time came to cast Nikki, which is what Bugs played on stage, I asked him, I said, you have to take a call as to who you want. And the first and only name he thought of was Mr. Anuvab Pal. Is that not a story? That is a story. I think that's an amazing story. And also, sorry, Abhinandan and Rajyasree, to jump. So when we called Anuvab, he was doing stand-up in some foreign country. And I said, Palu, we need to get on to a Zoom call immediately because it's about Pune Highway. And he got all excited and he said, gents, I'm on. What do you want me to do? Thinking that we need his help in the writing. And when we said, we want you to be in it, you've known Pal as long as I have. There was a look of fear. It was that, you're too young, but in Exorcist, when her head turns round and round and round, and then the bile comes out, that was Anuvab for a second. And he said, I'll be back.
And then he never got back on the Zoom call till he returned to Bombay and you caught him.
So I have that look now, I think.
Yeah.
That's the backstory, yeah.
So the story of the basic plot, why don't you tell us the basic plot? And then, of course, people will go and watch the film. So I don't want you to give away what happens.
There are some friends, 4 friends who grow up in a building in Bombay, in Tardeo, South Bombay.
Yeah.
And 140 kilometers away, a dead body is found in a lake. And their lives go to hell. So the question is how?
So
how are they connected?
So is it a coming of age film of three buddies, childhood?
There is coming of age in the sense that we do see them as, 8-year-olds and we see them as 24-year-olds. But when this happens at about 38, so they've come well of age by then.
So it's a three timeline film.
Mm-hmm.
On stage, with all its limitations, one can only show them in the present. and the past is talked about as backstory, right? Over here, film allowed us the luxury of being able to play them as 12-year-olds because it's a story also about growing up in a building. And which is I don't know how it is in other cities, but in Bombay, growing up in the same building is a really big deal, because it can be the most lackluster, falling to pieces building, but it's an emotion, living in a Bombay building or a housing society is an emotion because the terraces where you grow up, you have your parties and you have you cut your cake and you take your height, on the water tank. And then the compound below is where you play cricket, and the garage is where you have the carom.
And that's pretty consistent across, most of Bombay because it's the same experience you see in a lot of Rajyasree books. You have the same kind of experience of Bombay, even, back before the 2020s.
And then the families grow up in the same building. So you live in, let's say, in one flat, and then you get married, right? And then you buy the
across generations,
across the landing, and so it becomes so this is something that I've always been obsessed with, buildings and what they mean to people. And so Shanti Bhavan, where the boys grow up, becomes a very integral part of. It's almost like a fifth buddy, in terms of. And so so I think the luxury of film is you can show the timelines. What you can only talk about in theater. We actually get to see them at 12, at 25, and at 40, at 38, 40.
And when you said theater, I know Anuvab has done theater, and we'll just get to Anuvab. But you and Bugs are both ad men, and I'll just, our audience, taste the thunder. Thumbs up, taste the thunder is Bugs' line. He was, I guess, the creative director for that entire campaign.
Yeah, I was the writer, and then we conceived the campaign together.
And Rahul is the famous, the Amul man who comes up with those regular, amazing Amul lines, which are so timely and quick. So, but you both have theatre as well as part of your repository of talents and skills and interests?
I don't know about repository of skills and talent, but
interest, yes.
Yeah, passion. I mean, that's what we do.
We've tortured audiences for years.
Yeah.
For decades now.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a shared passion of theatre, film, and advertising. Bugs has been like, I've been doing theatre all these years, and Bugs has been making films, acting primarily, and we've both been doing. So we work. Our two advertising agencies have joined forces now. So the two agencies work together because we're trying to hang on to the last vestiges of a non-chat GBT.
Yeah. Also, the golden age of ad agencies also, it's is not what it used to be earlier. What an ad agency meant.
Yes.
That's a whole. I mean, then if we ever do one on that, that's a whole other story.
We should actually do a roundtable on that. That would be fascinating. How that entire world has changed.
On the wrong turns made by a fabulous industry that made some really poor decisions in the 90s.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. I'll make a note of this. So coming to Anuvab. Anuvab, you have absolutely no interests, no advertising, no theatre. You are the other version of a new kind of template for professional description that has come up from Bombay called "I'm a liver."
Yeah.
Right.
As opposed to a kidney.
Yeah. Pal, you know the reference, right?
Are these people who, is this
this is Ori.
influencer?
Yeah, this is that Ori.
So,
yeah.
You've been doing a lot of cinema of late. You were in that historical drama, Freedom at Midnight, right? I've got the name wrong.
Yes, and he was a fabulously wonderful man.
Yeah.
He essayed a man who ripped apart Bengal.
I've seen you in a lot of films in the last 2-3 years. So, what gives?
So just because your audience has esteemed media people from around India and journalists and that lot, just to fill in a little bit about ad men who are making movies, there seems to be a seismic change going on in Bombay in terms of how films and web series are made. earlier, if you think about it, the power was in the hands of a few actors who controlled everything and everybody played small parts. I think post-COVID, that whole world is dismantling. I mean, you are talking to two gentlemen from advertising, who then went into the theater, had the good fortune of working with them in the theater. But now they're starting sort of almost like a renegade and independent, what would be seen in America in the 70s as an independent production company, right? Just going out and working with actors that they want to. And I never wanted to, be an actor or any of that. But I think certain characters, like earlier, there'd be audition processes and the only parts available would be the best friend of Saif Ali Khan or whatever, which that world, I think, is dwindling now, where directors are literally saying, I think this guy looks like this guy, or I think this guy'd be very good, which is what happened with Nikhil Advani and Freedom at Midnight, where he saw a photograph, I think, of S. Hussain Surawadi and said, I think this guy looks like the comedian Anuvab Pal. And Bugs and Rahul, with whom I had previously worked in the theater. And I think, for your media audience, they need to know that Bugs is 3 films old. Like a lot of people would have seen Barot House. A lot of people would have seen Bugs' Arjun Rampal film. A lot of stuff that sits on Z now. And people can go and revisit those films as well. Bugs, I'm forgetting the third film.
Nail polish.
Nail polish and pigeon.
Nail polish and pigeon. So you're dealing with, and now these two forces came together and said, we want a film. And, Jim Saad, Amit Saad and me are not a combination that you could sell to Yash Raj, you know what I mean? But that world doesn't exist anymore, so nobody knows what works. Rajkumar Rao today has a 500 crore hit. Tomorrow, a tiny film can become the next massive thing. So people are experimenting, just like advertising. A lot of the movie world is changing. Comedians are being, are doing sort of parts, in like traditionally serious parts, playing characters very opposite themselves. I'm playing a thing very, very far removed from me.
So what is that? What is far removed from you?
I mean, this particular, I'll let Bugs and Rahul describe the guy, but guy is, suspected to have committed a crime apart from everything else, but also...
Which Anuvab will never ever do. He is the model citizen. He is the poster child of the poster of the Adarsh Balak that is being printed as we speak at 7 Racecourse Road.
I just want to say that Pal in school was school vice captain, good conduct medal, or he was a proper good boy. And still is.
So he's right. Okay, fine. So
I really hope this gets edited because this is relevant. The far more relevant question.
Actually, just to most of our stuff doesn't get edited. So if you say something very horrible, let us know. Then we'll cut it out.
Right.
Otherwise,
we'll have to
we cut nothing out.
Yeah.
So Bugs and Rahul, what got you to cast him as this person? So unlike what he says he is in real life.
So there's a certain innocence to him, which is why we quite rightly scoffed at the fact that anybody could suspect him of a crime. That's exactly what happens. People scoff at it immediately because there's a certain purity to him, and there's a certain madness to him. So he's a person in search of love in this film, and he finds the love among these two friends because he doesn't have it at home. And because he's so funny and because he's so endearing, you don't see the sadness. That's actually so much a part of him, and that starts to come out as the film progresses. He's heartbreaking. Anuvab is fabulously funny and heartbreaking. So that's why we thought I thought he had that in him, frankly.
So Rahul and Bugs, how do you direct a film together? How does it work? I mean, are both of you on the set at the same time for every shot all the time, or you have such a great chemistry and aesthetic which is matching that that if this scene is directed by you and the other by the other person, there'll be a consistency in style, in pace and narrative? Or do you guys disagree and say, no, we'll do it this way, that way? How does it work?
So, we started writing it. I mean, for 20 years, I've been chasing Rahul to make this film from 2004. Because I frankly found it extremely cinematic. I was on stage and I used to be so close to the audience and see their riveted faces. They were just absolutely riveted. And at another time, I'll tell you a story of somebody whose partner committed suicide and he came to see the play. And there was one scene where I'm interrogated as the character Anuvab plays. He broke down He broke down in the theater, and then we had to take him out to dinner, and he kept crying, saying, "This is how I felt when the cops went at me, saying I abetted the suicide." So there was certain immediacy and power to the writing. And then Rahul took 20 years to say yes.
Hmm.
But
I'll answer that completely honestly. I mean, this is my first film, right? The huge difference between film and stage is in the writing of it, right? Because the stage is primarily a verbal medium. So it's, if you can't write dialogue, then you can't write plays, right? Similarly, if you can't visualize scenes, if you can't really see them as beats or as pieces of action, then you can't make film, right? And I don't understand. I'll be honest, I don't understand that. I didn't understand that, and so therefore there was no disagreement on the stage because I didn't know anything.
That's not true. It's being funny.
Because I also realized that co-directing means that you bring to the film your different talents. So I think that Bugs and I share a passion for writing. So therefore, we finished it quite quickly. We kind of knew that the play would have to go out of the window for the most part because it was a verbal versus a visual medium, right? We knew that the characters were these three friends were critical to the piece, right? And what also happened was, because I had to finish the play in a hurry, I didn't end up writing a second half, which I really wanted to. And the second half was a police investigation, which I never ended up writing. So the film became that in an odd kind of way. Right. So because I had written the play, I knew the characters. Bugs was almost, and because he was in it, it made the job very fascinating because we both knew the material. And then Bugs, I think, brought to bear on this most critical second phase, which is the screenplay, the short breakdown, which is the most critical part. Because how do you tell a story? And it's within the writing of a screenplay, then the shooting of the screenplay, then the editing of the film. You go back to the screenplay because the screenplay is very different now. What was on paper is now an edited film. And so the story is really told because you can spend 2 days shooting a whole scene, which goes out of the editing table.
Yeah, basic film is created on the editing table, right?
So it is completely. And then another element comes in when you start to add the music, because then you take a call, whatever, how much dialogue, what is just, what is in silence and all of that.
So I hope there is some silence, because we just discovered that no one wants silence these days in all the series we are watching.
We have silence. We have
and
very meaningful silence.
Yeah, people don't want. So the thing is that it's taken us 3.5 years to make this film, and none of that. There's not been a single day where we've not been at work. It's not been like we finished the film, then you have to wait a year to sell it.
Right.
It took us 11 months to edit the damn thing.
So the theatrical release?
Yeah.
Yes. On the 23rd.
On the 23rd. Yeah. So, and that call we took midway because we started off. I mean, the reason why I thought now's a good time to make a film and Bugs convinced me is because we've always felt that our kind of film perhaps wasn't a cinema release kind of film. But OTT, I think, made that possible for content to become all kinds of content became viable. You didn't have to necessarily have all your set pieces. But Bugs convinced me and everybody that we never grew up with OTT, right? We grew up with film. We always saw film on a big screen. So what are we scared of? And you have to see a film big. We just came from looking at the final edit and the final print. Now it'll go to the.
There's nothing more we can do.
Nothing more we can do, and just watching it, because we were like in the front row, like watching Titanic. And it was phenomenal to watch it. And we thought, can it be anything but we can't let this film be seen on a phone.
How we used to keep our visual senses sharp as we came up with a key visual, which in the film you will also see. So at the very beginning of the film, there's a dead body being lifted out of water.
Yeah.
It's a spooky, beautiful visual. And that kept coming back to every time we started writing, we'd think of that visual first and then write. So we wrote on FaceTime because COVID was on. So we used to look at each other like this and write it. In 2 months, we had it written. But every day, we went back to that key visual. Because it has to be as spooky and as poetic as that. Water pouring out of a dead body is so beautiful.
That's true. It's a way of looking at things.
Nazariye ka sawal hai. But when it comes to buddy films, this is a film of 3 buddies coming of age. Any favorites you have, Anuvab, of, because there are a lot of films made on this three. Dil Chahta Hai, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. Even, Boyhood wasn't exactly that. That was a different coming of age film. But a lot of names aren't coming to mind. But this is a very popular theme. Buddy films, 3 buddies kind of thing. Oh, Hangover. There's so many.
Hangover, yes.
That was one of my faves.
Hangover, Bridesmaids. There's a lot of them. So, you're only talking about
Anuvab,
men.
you have any buddy films? And since you've also written some very good material both for theatre and film, were you one of those pain in the ass? नहीं, मुझे लगता है ऐसे होना चाहिए राहुल सर मेरी एंट्री ना ऐसे फिर उड़ेगा फिर Taste the Thunder ऐसे होगा ऐसा. Were you like one of those?
So the 2 different points, and one is very valid, which is, if you are a writer and you're on a project with 2 other friends who are writers, you have to respect the writing, right? And every instinct in your body, if let's say you can adjust something, make it better, make it funny, is telling you, should I go up and then you realize there's another voice there that says, just shut up and do the job, because they've thought through this. Because when you're on the other side of it, an actor comes up, and Rahul and I have talked about this so many times, and they said, I think this should be done like this. It almost supposes that the writers have not spent months thinking about it. Like, obviously, they've spent months turning something. They say, I think the guy should be wearing. Obviously, they've rejected it for a reason. So you have to respect that writing, right? And people who are just actors, I think, don't have that burden. And some ways that's helpful. They come in and say, why are we doing like this? And then directors have to very patiently explain to them. And then because actors tend to be dumb, and I tend to not be very bright when I'm acting. The great thing about good directors is they make it seem like you've thought of this. So at the end of it, if you have lots of questions, by the end of it, you're like, but it was your suggestion only. And as an actor, you're like, yeah, I go. So I think really, really good direction helps. Now, as a writer, you obviously want to nudge in this, but here, the script, because it's a whodunit, it's not a genre that I write very often. And I'll tell you this, the narration was, I was in the UK, they were here, we did it like this on Zoom. And this, you can ask Jim and Amit this as well. Because it's so taut, I guess there's no other way to describe the screenplay, because you want to know who did it, right? The first thing you see is this image right at the top of the film, which you will. And then you just want to know, like any good Agatha Christie or any of that, or even in our culture, Perfect Murder, Karamchand, ultimately the backbone of all those is the same. There are some interesting characters, there's stuff going on, there's empathy, there's friendship, but who did it, right? And they've written it so well, the mathematics of it is so well written, that you don't want to suggest anything to disturb the dominoes, because they've thought this means this, and this means this, and this would mean that, and, this is not one of those where you can drop a joke line, because everything has ramifications on everything else.
But that won't stop Rajyasree from telling you in the first 5 minutes who's done it. Guarantee.
I know who's done it.
That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah.
See it with you. Rajyasree, I'd love to see it with you.
I know who's done it. I can already tell you, but I won't tell you.
Don't tell your audience.
No, don't ever watch a film with Rajyasree, because in the first 2 minutes, she'll tell you everything about the film, and she'll spend the rest of the time asking what the fuck is happening.
That's
so I'm
because
like, you just knew everything when we started. Now you know nothing. Just let me.
No, Abhinandan's only mission when he goes to watch a film is to tell you, I already know what's going to happen, and then he tells you what's going to happen, and you don't really care because he hasn't made the film, and you've just gone with him because he's paid for your ticket, if you're lucky. So that's a different matter altogether. But I want to ask something because...
Sorry, can I just answer?
Yes.
Can I answer the question you asked, Anubhav?
Yeah.
So I think buddy movies, at least I think we both love buddy movies where the buddiness is changed because something tremendous happens to the buddiness. Like Dil Chahta Hai, I love it, but nothing really happens to them.
Kai Poche was a fantastic example. In fact, you have one cast member that you share with Kai Poche, Amit Saad. Yeah.
So I think that I was going to say that I think, so Amit, I think feels that Pune Highway is quite meaningful for him because it's been exactly 10 years that he did a film. There was another fabulous film, Palu, what is it called, with Brad Pitt, where they're kids and then they accidentally kill somebody and they get thrown into jail.
Oh my God!
What is it?
Sleepers. What a
Sleepers.
film!
So now that to me
That
is
was amazing.
there's that last shot where it's a flashback where they're all enjoying themselves
Yeah.
over dinner, and to me that kind of film is very critical. It's not Pune Highway exactly, but it's the same thing where a crisis or a murder or an incident is thrown into, it's the cat among the pigeons, and what is and that really tests your friendship.
Right.
In a way that, and that film particularly, because again, not a similar format, but they're 12 when they accidentally and then they go into jail, and then when they come out, it's that which I think is. I mean, I think we both we're not obsessed, but those kind of things are interesting when it comes to buddy.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal film. But interesting now, last few minutes, but Rajyasree, if you have any questions, but I really want to ask you guys this because, from, I mean, you guys are from Bombay and ad men, so many of these guys will be your contemporaries. I may get the names wrong, but that Sonali Bendre and Amir Khan film, Sarfarosh, that was also made by an ad filmmaker, Abu, the gentleman I'm talking about?
Yeah.
John Matthew.
John Matthew.
John Matthew, right. There has been, that's the only name that comes to mind, of course, there's you. But
Sujit.
yes,
Sarkar.
there have been some ad filmmakers who've done phenomenal transitions into cinema.
Kabir,
and come back.
this
Kabir
thing
Khan
wasn't
he was
an ad filmmaker.
He was a cinematographer. He's
the
a Delhi
guy
guy.
who made Sapne.
Sapne, no, he was Menon.
Of course.
Rajiv Menon.
Rajiv Menon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Endless. Ram Advani. Endless.
There's so many now. Now when I was young and I'm probably the same age as the two writers, directors of the film. The cool people of Bombay were the adwalas, which kind of was demonstrated in the film, which was Is Raat Ki Subah Nahi. Right? The ad parties were the cool parties to go to. Bollywood was not cool.
No.
Like Ghungru, Annabelles would not be playing Bollywood music. In the 90s, something happened.
Yeah, the switch.
And where if you had money, you were cool. So the cool of ad being the aspirate, like it wasn't, I went to a party where there was, Bollywood stars. No one gave a fuck because that was a shit party. It was, full of men in safari suits. But I went to a party where there were adwalas and models. So that was a cool party. So somewhere the definition of cool changed to how much money you have, you were cool. But there was some great talent that came from ads, went to cinema, but then went back. I mean, they never continued in cinema. My question is it because they are not quite outsiders and yet not insiders? They are in the world, but not entrenched.
Could be.
So they can't be rebels because you got to work with these people. I mean, at the end of the day, Taste the Thunder was a Salman Khan, but yet you are not them. Do you think that's why it doesn't quite, you don't fit here or there, or am I just imagining this and none of this exists?
This is the business is, opportunity, everybody wants to make a film all the time. That's the important thing. Everybody wants to make a movie every single day of their lives, but it doesn't come your way that often. Like I've been on the verge of making a film from 2005. It'll come up, we'll start production, it'll fall through. We start another one, we're going to be shooting in England, guys, and everybody gets ready and it falls through.
In Delhi, we call it Achhe Din.
Actually, 2019 is when I made my first flick. And then it just happened. I don't know. I think it's fate. And also your staying power. How much do you want to make a film? Do you want to make a film large canvas with the great star? Or do you just want to make a film? I'll just take two of my friends. Like Ram Advani made Let's Talk.
Right.
In a room. He wanted to make a film. And it's simply made, beautifully made. So I think it's how much you want to do it at what level. If you really want to do it, you'll do it with, you'll shoot the cat outside your house and make a movie. And I was very close to that, frankly, because I thought, this is falling through. I'm going to look for a good cat outside my door and shoot it. But that's it. I think it's how much do you want to do it?
Okay.
So I feel that's it. But
I think also, I mean, I think we already have two large podcasts. One is what you said earlier, and one is we need to talk about this because it's, I'm wondering whether it's about typical Bollywood versus ad filmmakers. Is it nepotism versus,
Mm-hmm.
Ram Madhwani is a good example because his films are so few and far between because he's doing ads in between.
Mm.
He has stuff, he's got stuff in the pipeline, he's got writers' rooms going. Typical Bollywood, I think they just spend time, they're out there making it, they're just trying to raise the money because films take 4 years to make.
And it's a hustle. For anyone.
It's a hustle. It's a hustle. Today trying to raise the dosh. Earlier the banks would give you the money. Now you're trying to get the money. You're trying to sell your script to Netflix or to Amazon. So anybody who tells me that I made a film quickly, it doesn't make sense. You have to deal with the stress. You have to deal with the fact that it's not going to happen. For the most part, Murphy's Law is going to take over. But you got to deal. You got to deep. You got to have the stamina.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's like a startup. Yeah, stamina is more important than capital. It is. Yeah,
and unlike a startup, then every time you're starting from scratch.
Right.
There's nothing that from the previous thing that you can take into this one.
And in a startup where you've burnt all your money the very first day, you've gone through everything that you have, and you're asking for more money.
Yeah. But what you said about the whole, dealing with the nepotism, and Anuvab said about someone make an ad film and call you to be the second lead to a star.
Yeah.
I a few months ago got a call. I will not name the star, not even a star. She's the daughter of a star. I think she's done a couple of films. I haven't watched any of them, but she's already considered a star. I said, we're shooting an ad. We'd like you to model for that ad. I said, why did you think I'll model for an ad? No, we saw on Insta, we like it. I said, okay, what is this about? You're a hairdresser and you are in the hair.
I think it's pretty cool.
In the makeup room of this young girl. What is the lady? She's a child in my view. She's so young, but she's already a star. And you have to say, oh, you look lovely, baby. I said, oh, really? Is that what I have to do? At fucking next flight, I'm there. Like,
sounds like a good ad.
It sounds like a pretty good ad to me.
Anyway, so yeah, that was that. But what are your favorite films from the last, let's say, couple of years or series that you guys have really liked? Or anything that maybe Rahul and Bugs, you thought that, damn, I'd like to have written that or made that.
So I think Mayor of Easttown, True Detective. True Detective. The True Detective, both season 1 and season 4. I think season 1 will stay with me forever. Again, a buddy movie. But how they fed off each other and it wasn't a closed room, but it was, those long car rides. I think True Detective would be I think anywhere where there is the search for the self and the search for the body and the search for the killer.
And certainly adolescence.
And adolescence, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to quickly add, the reason I think things like True Detective or Kora or Patal Lok are important in the context of this film is that there are very few stories where the landscape plays a part. In the what is brilliant about that writing is the geography of the land. So North Punjab or Bundelkhand or deep interior Alabama, they are very much characters in the sort of simmering procedural. The policemen are going there, and I think Pune Highway does that, which is why I've always been a believer of watching like a very good murder mystery on a big screen. Because it's a collective experience, right? You're just like watching a good comedy on a big screen. It's a collective experience. The gathering is as important as the watching, right? Because you're watching those landscapes unfold. Here, Rahul and Bugs shot in Bhor, they shot in interior Maharashtra, and the landscape and the drones and all of that adds to that eeriness, the sinisterness, the menace. And that's something that started, I think, like you pointed out, Abhinandan, what made these murder mystery series really good. I think from 16, 17, they started happening where the procedural became really good. It became really, really gripping. And then Indian stuff was also up to the plate, especially with stuff like Patal Lok and Kora and Indian procedurals. So Pune Highway comes in, it seems to me, gentlemen, jump in, that landscape was shot and was written in the screenplay as a character. I mean, that is why The Highway is the title of the film, right? It's a character very much in the story.
Interesting. Anuvab, you should say this, because today while watching the film, like putting that in the final print to rest, what caught me was exactly what you're saying. The beauty of the landscape, the beauty of the drone shots of the highway, and near Satara, those hills where we shot. Maharashtra is so beautiful.
Yeah, and those lakes. And can you imagine somebody watching this in the middle of the night while skipping through 3 other series? Like, I don't think films of, I mean, I'm glad OTT is there, but it's like having a video library. Like, it's not the same.
You're right. The cinematic experience, the theater experience was so much fun. I loved it. For me, going for a film was way more fun than going for a party or going to a nightclub even, when I was young. It was just something very satisfying about it. It was a complete experience. I loved it. But speaking of the Pune Highway, other than this film, which I would urge you watch, of course, we are completely transparently pushing Rajyasree's friends. But it also has this place called Tony Ka Dhaba, which we had featured. It's a very beautiful highway. And I used to make this show called Highway on My Plate back in the day with Rocky and Mayur.
Yes. One of my favorite shows.
Oh my God.
Thank you. So there's this place called Tony Ka Dhaba, who used to serve emu meat, which was a rarity, and not just emu, duck. He had like these 12 kinds of birds there. And because in the middle there were
emu farms.
Chicken,
at one point.
And it overlooked, like, it just reminded me, because right now when Anuvab was saying that these lakes and these mountains, it was really stunning, except that it was just heartbreaking to go choose your bird.
You chose your live bird.
You could do that if you liked, which is what we did for the show. And there were little ducks and stuff. But I don't know if it still exists. Does it exist? Other than dead bodies, Tony the Dhaba is still there? Do you guys know?
I don't know.
Because they ate up all the birds.
No, it was a very famous dhaba. Back then, he was one of the first who started serving
it sounds more horrific than a murder mystery to me.
But the emu kebab thing was a thing. It became a big thing, I think.
Because there were emu farms, and then I don't know what happened. The government took away whatever tax rebate.
It started because of chicken, that disease happened. All the chickens were infected. So that's...
But did anybody say, did you like Abhinandan's show? Yeah, I found it a bit too emo.
That's very bad. I'm so glad your ads and your writing is much better than this.
Better than my humor.
Yeah, than the spontaneous humor that we've
I haven't been to the cinema in a couple of months, but we shall go watch Pune Highway.
I want to just say, Abhinandan has said my friends and all that and put this on me, but Abhinandan has shown more loyalty to Anuvab than I had, because he made us go and watch Bar Bar. What was that film, Anuvab?
Bar Bar Dekho.
Bar Bar Dekho. And after 20 minutes, I had said, even though Anuvab is my childhood friend, that we can leave now. And Abhinandan said, no, we must watch the entire film. I sat and watched this entire film. It was a test of friendship.
That's the biggest thing in cinema. I've only abandoned one film in the hall. I think one or two. Otherwise, I will watch the whole thing. Online, I must have abandoned 20 shows.
Yeah, that is the issue. That is really...
I mean, if it gives you any pleasure, I walked out of a couple of screenings of my own films. If that helps. That was okay. I have to say, though, in this case, in my defense, I am a character in the film, but this is very much also Jim and Amit's film, as it is Banjaris and Ketakis. So the thing is that the hard part in a trio friendship story is the fact that you have to be a credible friend to the other two. And the difficulty with the other two being very well-known, celebrated, of the time zeitgeisty stars, and you being a comedian is it's very much their film and you're just living in it. The one very funny scene I remember is the first time Jim and I had an interrogation scene where we did a little thing where he sort of we had a scene, and it's the first time I was doing it, and naturally very excited, first high energy scene, and I do it, and there's a lot of overacting in it, right? I realize after that first take, and Bugs and Rahul kindly come up and tell me, etc. And Jim, being a gentleman that he is, very politely takes me to the side and says, are you going to do it like that or differently? Because we didn't know each other then, none of us knew each other. But yeah, so I'm hoping that the nepotism extends to them as well.
Is this speaking of the...
So what Jim just said, just do it differently.
yeah. Just don't do it like that. Yeah.
Speaking of the other actors, is this Amit Saad's film not after Kai Po Che? He's done after Kai Po Che?
His first theatrical.
In the cinema, yes.
He's on OTT.
I think in between he did Sultan.
He did Breathe. And
he's done all those.
He's done a few.
He's done a couple.
But I think one meant a lot to him. Like Kai Po Che was his first. And this one is 10 years later.
So good luck to all of you. Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you so much for making the time and joining us.
Thank you so much.
A
and
pleasure.
in case when you guess the killer, please don't tell anyone.
We won't. That in any case, I'm not the one she's the spoiler queen.
I went to watch, what was that film with Bruce Willis? Signs.
Die Hard.
Keep quiet. Signs. The one where he's and 5 minutes into the film, I said, oh my God, he's dead. And the people in front of me, which were Nikhil Chinappa and all, turned around and they said, if it's correct what you've said,
we'll kill you.
You hot-footed out of the theatre. And I didn't
now.
know any of them. It was in Bombay, but I was correct. So I won't tell anyone. But we will go and watch the film on big screen. And congratulations.
Yes. Bye-bye. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right. So now we will get back to the emails. We have several. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the criticism, for the ideas. You make us better. You help us to be better. We only entertain the inputs and the valuable feedback of subscribers. So if you're a subscriber, mail us at podcasts@newslaundry.com. I repeat, podcasts@newslaundry.com, and tell us what we should do differently, what we are getting right, what we're getting wrong, etc., etc. If you're not a subscriber, you can scan this QR code and become a subscriber so that we'll take you a lot more seriously. Otherwise, you can always leave your abuse on Twitter, Insta, and YouTube comments.
Yeah, because now people go on Insta also and leave abuse.
Yeah,
but they leave
but
praise
we read
also.
the views also, but we
Yeah.
don't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
So AP has written, I want to recommend a podcast I enjoy a lot. It is called Making Sense by Sam Harris. I mostly agree with his views and I think you might find them thought-provoking. Can get started with the best of making sense. Abhinandan will listen. Also, Sam Harris has an app named Waking Up, which is great for mindfulness and meditation. I love your podcast. Long-time paid subscriber since the beginning. Thanks, AP. Orpita has written, Abhinandan sir, I know gets told off for uncle things. I'm guilty too in my previous email. On 25th April, I felt bad, took his response to heart about uncle abusers, not open to being wrong, etc. Valid point. I'm open to criticism here. Wow, Abhinandan, you've made a
Orpita,
dent.
you have self-awareness, which is very important, which is, I think, what is lacking in that generation most.
Yeah.
But of course, I could be wrong on a lot of things.
Now she'd said, wait.
Okay.
This week, ticked off a little by where are you from? People shouldn't be offended. Did we say this?
I said it.
Where on this?
On this
Or
podcast. You
okay.
are not eating badam. You're
I have 4 soaked almonds every morning.
not doing their job.
Yeah, bad almonds. Yeah, maybe we get a bit extra offended, but it's because often the question comes from people specifically interested in othering us or trying to generalize, typecast us. For example, I may be trying to register a valid complaint with some Babu type office in my neighborhood abroad. They might disregard my complaint asking, where are you from? Okay, that's a different way of asking. Without malicious intent or not, my complaint is invalidated because I apparently don't understand this foreign system. Nobody wants to be typecast or ignored based on appearances. Na? Salam Shab, Nepali troop hasn't aged well in India too. Has it? Please correct or advise. P.S. Kamakha, wish more knew of it, which is true. I'm surprised. I thought most people know about Kamakha temple.
I mean, why
In
would
India.
most people know about Kamakha temple?
Because it's such a well-known part of Hindu.
Rajyasree, most people would not even know the seven sisters if I was to name them, and I will not embarrass you here and ask you.
I know why.
with them
Abhinandan's basically a nasty piece of
and their
work.
capitals. So for those of you who don't know, you should just remember the seven sisters. There are three M's, which is Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Manipur, because most people, and that is why no one's gone. Assam to bahut dur ki baat hai. You know, that side of Bengal, east of Bengal, no one's gone. So that's three N's. Then there's one T, which is Tripura, right?
There
are
many
two A's, two Assam and Arunachal.
And there's one
N.
K.
Nagaland.
Nagaland,
which is the K?
I just threw that in to see whether you would
Many
say
people-
Kathmandu.
Many people say Sikkim is seven sisters. It's not one of the seven sisters. Okay, so most people cannot name the seven sisters. So to them, to expect them to know of Kamakha temple in Assam is...
I'm saying because
How do you even know about the Brihadeshwara temple from the north? Tell me.
it's not as well known as Kamakha.
What are you saying? Brihadeshwara temple...
Not as relevant as Kamakha.
As an architect, do you know that it has an 80-ton thing?
It's supposed to have a piece of her now.
The Meenakshi temple. I'm just saying that anyway. But
Okay, but I wish more people did know about Kamakha also because it's one of the few temples dedicated to women. But in an odd way, after you hit puberty, you're not supposed to enter. But even then, Guelph NRI has written, "Hey Abhinandan, unfair of you to say that Pakistani cuisine doesn't exist. Having lived in the UAE for 30 years, I can say that their food is quite distinct. Exactly. The spice blends they use and the meat dishes are all a bit unique. It's typically milder, not crazy spicy like some of our dishes. You can even note the absence of certain commonly used spices in India like hing and curry leaves, and it really does affect the flavor profile. Regional cuisine can be even more varied. For example, food from Gilgit-Baltistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The Pakistani tandoori roti is something I have never seen in India, and it's not like the naans we get here. It may not be radically different, but our neighbors can cook up the most delicious dishes, and in many cases, I'd prefer their version over ours. Love the chana masala and the bhindi masala. And everyone, if you want to cook well, buy Shan masala and use Shan masala. I'm just saying, it's a tip.
Okay.
You get pop culture
we
and
are
cooking.
not getting any money from this Shan company or whatever it is. But anyway, I'm just... thank you for that. Perhaps you're right. Right now, Indo-Pak are discussing more than cuisine these days. When this podcast was done, what a time. Maybe they heard our podcast and got offended. That how dare we say they don't have any cuisine.
That's also there.
But on, the bits that you're saying, it's distinct... I'm just saying, Rajyasree sir, I don't know.
That it's similar, just a little different. Same, but different, you're saying.
You've traveled the world probably more than I have. And you've been to food courts, you've been to... I have seen Bangladeshi restaurants and I've seen Indian restaurants. I have never seen a Pakistani restaurant. In fact, the Singapore food hall, when I was there and I was trying to be pally, at the Indian counter, I said, "Where are you from?"
Bangladesh.
He was just being very often and rude to me. Because he's from Lahore. What a ego hate. You are from Lahore, you hate India, but you are selling Indian food. Because there is no such brand as Pakistani food.
Poor thing.
I'm
That's
just saying.
sad.
Okay.
Now I feel bad. Abhijit has written, I am very upset. I have a comment to make on this after this. I am very upset by a couple of statements made in two of your oldish episodes. One, a statement made about hot air and dhoklas. This was from an old episode made in the context of Coldplay increasing the number of shows in Gujarat. Very distasteful, especially towards Gujaratis, particularly considering how Indians are racially abused with statements about stench. Why would you do something like that?
She's offensive.
Abhinandan said this, first of all.
Offensive. I said hot
He
air.
said it, but I have a comment about this, but it's good. What were you saying about yourself? Offensive.
You said this.
No,
What
I
said
love
dhokla.
Gujus. Gujus make the best snacks.
I said hot air and dhokla?
Yeah.
Abhijit, please write again. Who said this?
Now
I think
again,
she
he'll
said
have
it.
to write.
She said it. I didn't say it.
Mohanlal is a buffoon. He peaked in the 80s. How do you claim to run a podcast reviewing entertainment content when you know nothing about an actor whose movie you are reviewing? That is correct. And many of you hadn't even watched the movie you were reviewing. No, but which is why we got Rajyasree on, because she was the one reviewing the film. We were not reviewing the film. Someone who had watched it was. Please direct our subscriptions towards other NL Sena projects. That is fine. Instead of insulting us with such dishonesty, very, very hurtful. All I want to say, Abhijit, is you mustn't be so sensitive. It is a viewpoint and it is a joke about hot air. The same way that we are told Bengalis smell of mustard oil and all. I don't start crying when I'm told this. Don't be too sensitive is my only suggestion.
Anti-advice.
And if you... I agree with your thing about that Mohanlal's film, but that is why we got on someone who had watched the film. And someone can think someone is a buffoon, much like Abhinandan thinks Saif is not intelligent, but he is intelligent. Do I get upset about it? No.
Oh, don't you?
No.
Okay.
Saif is not good looking. Just because you say something, it's not true. You're only upset case, because there's some truth in this.
In this case, it's true.
No.
But Abhijit...
Don't be so sensitive. My recommendation to everyone in the world.
Abhijit, point taken. This podcast will carry on. So will NL Sena's because even as two countries go to war, films get released. Even as someone loses a family member, another is celebrating a wedding. Life में संतुलन होता है मेरे दोस्त. संतुलन बना रहना चाहिए. Nothing defines the world as is in one place. Some people will find Mohanlal a buffoon. I don't have any great view of Mohanlal. Jayashree does. She's seen his films. I have a view on much of the Malayalam film industry because of investigation that was done by Nidhi Suresh in partnership with the News Mirror and News Laundry. So I think by and large, it must be a place full of extremely horrible, misogynistic creeps. And the people with power to change that have done fuck all to change it. So I would not really put him as a game changer. He may be popular, but so is Salman Khan. You know, so is Shakti Kapoor. So who really gives a fuck, buddy? Just like Rajyasree auntie said, don't be too sensitive.
Yeah.
Except that she has no locus standi to say it, but carry on.
Please. I'd be a horribly devastated person if I took everything Abhinandan told me to heart. I'm just saying.
And I'm going to give you Neha Singh's lovely email, 12 words. Neha, you are to the point. You are a to the point person.
Neha Sinha.
Sinha, sorry. Yeah. You're to the point person. People like you are an asset to the world.
I agree.
What will it take to make Awful and Awesome weekly instead of fortnightly?
Very
Neha,
to the point.
It'll take वक्त नहीं होता मेरे पास.
वक्त और पैसा, I feel. I think more people should subscribe. Then
how will it? I can buy a day.
One thing and let it happen.
I can buy a day in a week.
Doesn't matter. Let more people subscribe.
As it is, we get so much of justifiable criticism that why the fuck am I doing a podcast when I don't watch anything?
No, people don't say.
And that is when it's once in 2 weeks. If it was once every week, Neha, can you imagine the kind of people start मुझे पीटते सड़कों पे? Not that anyone knows me on the sadaks. But anyway, we have 4 mails left. We'll read those next time.
Yes.
But we must tell Narmada, someone has written Abhinandan Sekhri, then Anonymous and Sneha. Your mail will be read next time. We have crossed 70 minutes. So we should close this episode right now with the promise that we'll be back and I will watch something. I swear.
He'll watch The Royals.
You were just telling me how shit it is. Why do you want me to watch it?
Maybe it's not. Maybe I did not understand it. Maybe it's for another time.
This is the bad attitude. You disincentivize it.
I disincentivize.
If you already watched it and you know it's shit, why do you want me to watch it?
Because I feel you might get a different angle on it. Because it has Ishan Khattar. It has Milind Soman.
कोई lazy होता नहीं मेरे दोस्त. Lazy बनाया जाता है.
It has Milind Soman and Zina Taman in it. You don't want to watch.
We'd like to thank our sound recordist Anil and our wonderful producer Priyali. Thank you, Miss Sen.
Thank you, Mr. Sekhri.
And it's a wrap. Journalism at News Laundry is powered by the public. Because when the public pays, the public is served. Visit newslaundry.com/subscription and pick a payment plan of your choice. Pay to keep news free and independent. Your future, and indeed the future of democracy, depends on it.